Most people believe they suffer because of circumstances. But according to psychology, we suffer far more because of opinions. The fear of being judged, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or seen as too much or not enough. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung believed that this fear is not random. It is deeply rooted in the human psyche. From childhood, we learn a dangerous lesson. Belonging equals safety, and standing apart feels like danger. But Jung also believed something radical. Psychological freedom begins the moment you stop living from external approval and start living from inner authority. In this video, we will explore 5 Jungian insights that explain why you care so deeply about what others think, and how to slowly, gently, and honestly free yourself from that prison. Stay with me, because the final insight ties all 5 together and changes how you understand confidence, anxiety, and freedom. 1. Stop outsourcing your self-worth. The first reason people care so much about others' opinions is because they have outsourced their self-worth. Instead of feeling valuable from within, they wait for signals from the outside. Approval becomes proof of worth. Disapproval feels like a threat to identity. Jung believed this creates an unstable psyche. Because when your value depends on others, your inner world is constantly shaken by forces you cannot control. Praise lifts you up. Criticism collapses you. This is not confidence. This is emotional dependency. True self-worth is not something others can give or take away. It emerges from inner authority, from knowing who you are, what you value, and what you stand for. When you rely on external validation, you slowly lose contact with your own compass. You begin asking, "What will they think?" instead of, "What feels true to me?" The moment you reclaim self-worth internally, something changes. Opinions may still exist, but they no longer define you. Freedom begins when your worth no longer needs permission. 2. Their opinions reveal them. One of Jung's most important ideas is projection. Projection happens when people unconsciously place their unresolved fears, desires, and conflicts onto others. This means most judgments are not objective truths. They are psychological mirrors. People criticize what they fear. They attack what they deny in themselves. They mock what they secretly long for but cannot claim. Understanding this changes everything. When someone judges you harshly, it often says far more about their inner world than about your behavior. This does not mean all feedback is meaningless, but it does mean that emotional judgment is rarely neutral. Jung believed projection protects the ego from self-awareness. Instead of facing inner conflict, people locate it outside themselves. Once you understand projection, criticism loses much of its emotional power. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What might this say about them?" This shift restores inner balance. You no longer internalize every opinion as truth. You listen, but you are not ruled. 3. Anxiety is a call to individuation. Many people believe anxiety means something is wrong. Jung believed the opposite. Anxiety often appears when the psyche is ready to grow beyond old patterns, especially patterns of belonging. For most of human history, being excluded from the group meant death. So the nervous system learned standing apart is dangerous. That instinct still lives inside us. This is why choosing your own path often triggers anxiety. Not because the path is wrong, but because it is new. Jung called this process individuation, the movement from collective identity toward the self. Anxiety appears when you begin to outgrow the group, the family narrative, or the expectations that once defined you. The psyche resists separation, But growth always requires differentiation. If you feel anxious when you stop pleasing others, it may not be a warning. It may be an initiation. Anxiety is not always a sign to retreat. Sometimes it is a sign to become yourself. 4. Approval keeps you small. Approval feels safe, but psychologically, it is expensive. When you seek approval, you begin editing your true self. You soften your opinions. You hide your instincts. You silence your truth. Over time, this creates inner tension. The psyche knows when it is betraying itself, and that betrayal slowly turns into resentment, not only toward others, but toward yourself. Jung believed neurosis often forms when a person lives too long against their own nature. Approval may bring comfort, but it shrinks the soul. Freedom begins the moment you stop performing for acceptance and start honoring inner alignment. This does not mean becoming aggressive or insensitive. It means becoming honest. You can be kind without disappearing. You can be connected. You can be kind without disappearing. You can be connected without self-erasure. True respect begins when you stop negotiating your essence. 5. Be more loyal to your soul. The final insight ties everything together. Your soul knows the direction long before society approves it. Inner alignment brings calm, even when others disagree. Jung believed the self is deeper than public opinion, trends, or collective norms. When you are loyal to your soul, you stop chasing validation and start trusting inner truth. This creates a quiet confidence, not loud, not defensive, not reactive, just grounded. You no longer need everyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself. The self does not need applause. It needs honesty. When you live from inner authority, opinions lose their power, and what remains is psychological freedom. Caring less about what others think does not mean becoming cold or isolated. It means becoming whole. As Jung taught, freedom begins when projection returns home, when self-worth becomes internal, and when loyalty shifts from approval to authenticity. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Where are you still outsourcing your worth? And what would change if you chose loyalty to your soul instead?